Let me introduce myself. My name is Maria Castroviejo, and I'm a senior analyst at Rabobank. So we heard somebody that knows all about the spirits industry from the global data, somebody who is selling and really living the e-commerce, brand ownership. I represent more the financing side, the boring but necessary side. For those of you who don't know Rabobank, Rabobank is a Dutch cooperative bank. Back in Holland, they do everything you would expect a bank to do, from mortgage to current accounts, you name it. But the bank decided that on the international playing field, they were too small to compete everywhere, and they looked back at their cooperative origin, and they focused only in one single value chain, the food and agri value chain. And to do that better, to understand better the client, they set up a number of initiatives, among which 90 analysts around the globe to look at the industry. I'm one of them. So let's move on to e-commerce. When I got the mandate to put up something about e-commerce, I was a bit uncomfortable in the sense of e-commerce, because when we discuss with our clients, we see it as a much broader theme than e-commerce. It's about presence online. And I won't go further on that because my colleagues did all of it. In particular, the need to think online, think social media, think everything. It's not only very sad to see these blurred images that you showed, but sometimes it can get even worse. Have you tried buying alcohol through a supermarket in the countries where it's allowed? Well, some of them still prompt you things like you are trying to type for a nice whiskey or a nice gin, and then you get a line that says, people who bought that also looked at. And guess what? You look at bananas and you look at toilet paper. Thank you for brand building. But let's look at e-commerce from the consumer side, because as a business, the first thing we should think is there a demand for it? Does it add any value to the potential buyer? And the reason is obviously yes. What are the advantages for a consumer? Before the transaction, online offers knowledge, offers choice, offers no intimidation. You spoke about clients looking for a specific brand, which is fine. But what happens when you don't know which brand you want? You want a single malt, a nice one, or a good wine. Then if you go to the bottle shop, sometimes you feel like an idiot. I want a nice single malt. And the guy snobs at you. You can do that from your sofa, very comfortable, no intimidation. What is the downside? Too many options. I will come back to that in a minute. When we do the transaction, I'm happy to see that I didn't get it wrong. The first thing is convenience. And price is not always the most important driver, in particular in spirits and wine. What are the downsides or the uncertainties? Well, they relate to transport conditions. The consumer is concerned, will it arrive on a good condition? Will it have been duly transported or not? How am I going to get it delivered? And do I have to buy a minimum amount? And what about post-transaction? Well, today's client is very happy because it gives them a sense of belonging. What they do after they buy on internet is not only they enjoy the product, they drink it, but they immediately share it back. They put it on Instagram, they put it on the forum, they put it on the wine club where they got it from, the spirits hub. Hey, this was nice, I did that, I have that. What are the concerns or the potential downsides? What are my return options? But let's face it, in a bottle shop, sometimes they are also restricted. And another issue, and it's less and less an issue, is do I have to have a long-term commitment? Do I have to be engaged on being part of a club and buy every month? What about the supplier side? Who is bringing this product? Plenty of people. In particular in Western Europe, where we don't have the regulatory restrictions as hard as the States has. Some countries are more restricted than others, but speaking broadly, if you type on your computer or on your telephone, not a brand, but just gin online, single malt online, or wine online, good luck to you. You will get offers from direct to consumer, the winery or the distillery, general food retailers, already bricks and mortar alcohol specialists, bottle shops, wholesalers that have set up a special site, you name it. If you go to the pure player, you have specialist e-shops. They buy the stock and stock the product and they try to sell it to you. And you have specialized platforms just like yours and the general platforms. Plenty of different business models, subscription, clubs, on demand. If you are stuck without your booze at 10:30 in the night and you live in a big city, they will bring it to you. So there is a huge explosion of offer, perhaps too many. Each one has the different advantages and disadvantages. To cut a long story short, some of them have a very strong specialization, but perhaps a more restricted assortment. Others have a very nice assortment, but perhaps the business model is too difficult. Others are too generalist. They all have their own drawbacks and their own strong points. I will not go through all of them because I would take too long. But all of them face a number of challenges that will make or will accelerate this process that we see of too many players becoming less players. First of all, competitors are becoming stronger and stronger. A few years ago, everybody started a web shop, everybody tried to sell online something. This is no longer the same playing field. More experts, standing out experts are coming up. The big names are also becoming bigger and bringing in money. I put here Pernod Ricard as an example. If you look at their own website, you will realize how much money they are investing buying existing platforms and taking small shares in existing platforms. They are not the only ones. AB InBev is doing the same. Other big players are also doing the same. But also people that are not brand owners, but in the next step in the value chain, distributors that, like Hauesco here in Germany, they are also investing and consolidating the market. They become more powerful. And let's not talk about Amazon. What about the consumer? Well, the consumer is becoming more and more demanding because they understand better what e-commerce does. The strong competition also has spoiled the consumer. I offer even more. I offer it even cheaper. I give you even better options to get it at home. So the consumer is also becoming more demanding. And what about the suppliers, the brand owners? With such a wealth of options, they are also becoming more selective. So if you want my product in your platform, tell me what's in it for me. Because before I didn't have any, but now I have plenty of choices. So everybody is becoming more demanding. And of course, we have regulatory hurdles. And they are not going to be easier. Like always, in life, first, life makes a move, the business makes a move, the facts, the happenings make a move, and legislation follows. Internet and e-commerce and technology have moved extremely rapidly, and therefore legislation is in general still one step behind. It will not become easier. And all that means that for the players, they have investment needs. If you want to remain on the game, you need to invest, either on inventory, on logistics, if you are an e-commerce that are like a shop, or you have to invest on technology that makes you a better expert based upon your data. But you need money to keep going and to differentiate. So who's going to bring the money? Well, basically, we see different stages. At the beginning, it's the founders who bring the money. There are generally two types of founders, in particular in Western Europe. Some of them come from the background of we are technology specialists, we understand all the data gathering and so on and so forth, or we understand very well we are product specialists. But they start from a small point, they need eventually to incorporate everything, and as they grow, they can't afford to do it alone. So the next type of players come in is the financial sponsors. It can be crowdfunding, it can be just private equity. All these guys are bringing in money when they see growth potential. But at a certain moment, they have seen it all, they have put their money there, they don't want any more. And also these guys have a time horizon of around 5 years. And finally, there are the strategic buyers. I did mention Pernod Ricard in the past, but also large wine groups, large distributors, they are all acquiring and investing on e-commerce because they see clearly that as a different route to market and as a very important one, whose importance goes well beyond these 5% of revenues that they are now obtaining online. It's much bigger than that. So with all this in mind, what are our conclusions? How would we see the business in a few years? Well, we see that online alcohol sales will continue to grow. There is an appetite, they fulfill a consumer request, and they will keep growing. And premium products will be still on the lead. We also see that the market is too fragmented and there will be consolidation, and that there are new investment needs. So this consolidation can come from acquisitions, but also from people that are no longer competitive and have to leave the market. And as time goes by, the gap between the best performers and the struggling ones is becoming bigger. So the message for everybody, whether it's a brand supplier, is an e-commerce player, is think where your business opportunities are and take the right decisions today. And from my side, that's all. Thank you.